Demographics is all really about how people change, and there's three core dynamics to that. First of all, there's going to be more of us. Second of all, we're living longer. And third of all, we're having fewer children. So just some statistics to bring that into picture. In terms of there being more of us, by 2025 there's going to be 1 billion more people on the planet. 1/3 will be the over 65 bracket, so we're going to be getting older. How that actually plays out really does vary though at a country and regional level. It's in Africa where we'll actually see the quickest pace of change. In Nigeria, for example, the median age will be 21 by 2050. Somewhere like Japan, at the other end of the extreme, we're talking about an age of 53. So clearly a big shift. It's not the case that we can wait 10 or 20 years to think about these challenges. Actually, these are issues that are already impacting us today.
There's quite a few reasons that organisations should care about demographics as a megatrend. One of them, for example, is that their customer base is going to change. So the demographics impact their customers as much as they do their employees. So when organisations look at demographic challenges, they need to look at 4 different areas. One of them is gender diversity. One of them is the impact of the ageing workforce and the fact that people are going to be around a lot longer. One of them is around the different ways of working of the new millennial generation and how they need to adapt to that. And the fourth one is the importance of global mobility, where the changing and shifting epicenters of the economic power base is going to mean they need to be clear on where they get the talent from, which countries. It's fantastic that we're going to create a huge amount more diversity within the working environment, and all that can do is fuel innovation across all of our economies, fuel innovation within organisations. If we can tap into the different thinking, if we can tap into a larger spectrum of age within the workforce, if we can get the melting pot to work together effectively, and there's a big if in there, then all I can see is a huge amount more advanced technology coming out of it, huge amount more efficiency in working practices, and a greater collective brain from the global perspective to deal with the bigger challenges that we've got.
One of the most fascinating collisions between demographics and another megatrend is that between demographics and climate change and resource scarcity. What we're seeing here are the regions where we're seeing the largest population increase in the emerging economies, and especially in places like sub-Saharan Africa, are actually the places where climate change is going to have the biggest impact in terms of the risks that it will pose to those economies, in terms of the negative impacts it might have in terms of extreme weather event and changes in climate conditions that will make issues like health and food security and access to water increasingly difficult in the future. So here we're seeing a collision between growing population and increasing demand for resources and a physical change in the climate that's going to make it increasingly difficult to supply those resources. So therefore, what our clients need to be thinking about, both governments and businesses who are working in these developing and emerging countries, is the resilience of their investments going forward in time, and how they can best work with their partners in developing and emerging economies to build resilient economies, operations and practices.
The PwC CEO survey has shown that 2/3 of CEOs are really struggling with finding talent at the moment, and 93% of them are absolutely aware of the challenges of the changes in demographics. And you bring those two things together and you create a real issue for the business. To me, the most telling fact is that only 1/3 of CEOs are actually doing anything actively to address those two issues. I think what is going to happen anyway, as a fact, is we're going to have an older workforce. What is going to happen anyway, as a fact, is we're going to have greater ethnic diversity in our workforces. We're going to work in many more geographic locations. What is also going to happen as a fact is there will be a trend and an understanding that women will be more successful. Now, we can either allow that to happen at a pace driven by the facts, or we can embrace it earlier and identify how we can improve the way in which we tap into the value that's generated by it more quickly. And the organisations that do that and the economies that do that will be the ones that are more successful in the future.